Alright, good morning, Planar Geometry. Today we are doing exploration with properties of parallelograms. And we're going to use GeoGebra for this, okay? So I have GeoGebra up, and we are going to, first of all, since we're going to explore a parallelogram, we're going to construct a parallelogram. So start with the line through 2 points tool. Go ahead and just throw a couple of them out there. So that'll be one side of our parallelogram here from A to B. And then remember that the definition of a parallelogram was that you have two pairs of parallel sides for a quadrilateral. So that means I need a line that's parallel to AB here. Now I can construct it using the circles and the lines. However, since we have this lovely piece of technology, let's go ahead and use it. So go over here to this fourth box here. Click the down arrow. I think it's usually set on perpendicular line, but the second one down here is a parallel line. What they're going to ask you to do to construct a parallel line is to pick a point not on the line, so we'll pick out here, and then it asks you to click on the line that you want to make it parallel to. So I'll click on AB, and there we go. Here's a line that is parallel to AB. I'll just go ahead and make C my third vertex on this parallelogram, so we'll just make a line through AC. Alright, now remember it's two pairs of parallel sides. So I've got one pair of parallel sides. Now I need to make a line that's parallel to this one. So go back over, grab your parallel line tool. Let's go ahead and select B to be our point not on the line. And then go ahead and click on AC. And there we go. There's our other pair of parallel sides. So this would be the fourth vertex of our parallelogram. So grab the point tool, make sure both those lines are highlighted, click, and there you go. There's your fourth line. Now the nice thing about constructing is when you construct it like this, I can grab any of these points and drag them around, and notice since I constructed it to have two pairs of parallel sides, it's completely manipulable and I still have a parallelogram. Okay, so that is good for us. Alright, so let's go ahead and do the exploration. Okay, remember, you are welcome to pause the video at any time to answer your questions. In fact, it is highly encouraged. Okay, so walk along with me as we're doing these things, and then pause to answer your questions on your sheet of paper, which is due by the end of the hour. Okay, so first things first, your first question, number one, what do you notice about the opposite angles of a parallelogram? Remember that an opposite angle is basically just angles that are opposite each other. So like CB are opposite angles, A and D are also opposite angles. Okay, so let's go ahead and measure these. So if you don't already have the algebra window up, go up here to view, and then it's the algebra, and it should pop up off to the side. If it's taking up too much space, there's a little thing right there that you can adjust it with. Okay, next thing I need you to do is go over here and select the angle tool. So it says select 3 points or 2 lines. So let's start measuring angles, and let's start by measuring angle C. Okay, remember whenever we named angles, we named them with 3 points, and we would start with a point that is off to the side of the angle, the middle point was on the angle, and then the third point was off to the other side of the angle. Well, this works the same way. So I'm going to, if I want to measure angle C, I'm going to start by selecting A, then I'm going to select C because that's in the middle, and then I'm going to select D, which is to the other side. And notice it pops up the measure of the angle right there. Okay. Let's do the same for B. So I'm going to select D because it's to a side, select B because it's in the middle, select A because it's to the other side, and there we go. So notice what you see about your opposite angles. You can go ahead and grab the move tool, and you can drag this parallelogram around and make it any size that you would like. Okay, so I can drag C, and notice what happens. The measure of the angles changes. But what do you notice? Okay, so go ahead and pause and answer question number 1. What do you notice about the opposite angles of the parallelogram? And if you wanted to, you could measure the other opposite angles if you would like. Okay. Alright, our second question. What do you notice about the opposite sides of a parallelogram? So remember, the opposite sides are simply the sides that are to each side right here. Okay, we can do the same trick. So we can see our angles going over here if we go to the lines, select segment between 2 points. Okay, so we're going to go over, so let's say CD and AB, those are opposite sides, so let's measure those. So click on point C, go to point D, and notice it pops up over here, segment E, which is this segment right here, is 4.68, I don't know what they're measuring in, units, okay, across. So let's measure A the same way. So click on A, go across to B, and there's the measure of F, which is 4.68 units. Okay, you can do the same thing with the other two sides if you'd like. So you could select AC and see the length of that segment, BD, and see the length of that segment. So notice E and F, those are opposite sides. G and H, those are opposite sides. So go ahead and answer question number 2. What do you notice about the opposite sides of a parallelogram? Okay. Our third question, what do you notice about the consecutive angles of a parallelogram? Now the consecutive angles are the opposite of the opposite angles, if that makes sense. So these are opposite angles. Adjacent or consecutive angles would be these ones right here. Okay. So C and D would be adjacent angles. So let's go ahead and measure D. So select C, D, B, and there's the measure of D. Okay. So you're just going to have to do a little bit of noticing. Okay. Perhaps drag it around a little bit. I'm going to make A as close as I can to 130. Okay, so I've gotten it pretty close to 130. What do you notice about these things? Okay, try everything you've got on them. Perhaps notice something about adding them. Okay, that's a hint. And then answer question number 3. What do you notice about the consecutive angles of a parallelogram? Alright, last but not least, the diagonals. Okay, I'm going to have you draw a segment between 2 points. Okay, so let's go from C to B, that would be one of our diagonals. Go from D to A, that would be another one of our diagonals. And let's go ahead and mark that point in the middle where they intersect. Okay, so make sure that both of them are highlighted as you're hovering over it, and click. Alright, grab the segment tool again. I would like to measure each of these little parts of the diagonals. So click on C and click on E. Okay, and keep track here. K is this segment here. So let's measure the other side of that diagonal. So click on B, click on E, and there we go. There's the other side of that diagonal. Let's do that for the other diagonal. A to E, and then D to E. So those are those two parts of the diagonals. You notice something kind of interesting going on. So if this is happening on both the diagonals, what is E to both of those diagonals? What kind of a point is it for both of them? Okay, so that can lead you to answer question number 4 about what do you notice about the diagonals. Okay. Alright, so feel free to go back, rewatch any part of it that you need to. Remember that this is due by the end of the hour. Keep being awesome.